Hey
Um,
guys, it's Chris, Natural Progressive. I have with me today Daniel Geary. Many of you have heard his name. Um, a few people have mentioned him in their streams. Collapse Chronicles, WW Tribe. Also, he did an interview with Guy McPherson that I watched early on in this process, and we got in contact because I mentioned his interview when I interviewed Guy McPherson. And so, welcome, Daniel Gary. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this mess of
yeah,
a
yeah,
hole.
right. We were all born into this mess, so
Yes, we were all
it,
born into the
it
mess.
ain't
That's
our
true.
fault completely. We have to recognize that quite seriously, that we were born into a society built on petroleum. Meaning it's ancient sunlight, 100,000 years, give or plus. Take or minus. That we are releasing at a furious rate. That, in fact, there was a Buckminster Fuller once, sometime in the 60s, had his graduate students try to calculate what it would take to make a gallon of gas at uh, going electrical rates. You know, if they could be done, and of
Mhm.
course, that's got to be a lot of assumptions and estimates, and wild um, well, wild assumptions, I guess, to start. But they came up with $1 million a gallon. So even if you cut that by 100 thousandths, you're talking about $10 a gallon. For and we're giving it away for virtually free right now. And not only that, we're wasting it on insane activities. Uh, roaring down State Street or flying jets around the world, and
Can you
it's just,
imagine just, I don't know, you were here back in the 70s, 80s, whatever. In the
yep.
80s, there was
Mhm.
the thing of going up and down State Street. Can you imagine just how much gas was wasted driving up and down State Street? Because that was a thing.
I have imagined it, and I've seen it, and I try to not think about it because, but here I am, like I can see and I can hear I-215 and the airport, like I said, 2 miles away. Fortunately, they go north and south, so we don't get the exhaust here. We don't hear the loud noises and whatnot. But
You're
um,
lucky.
yeah. So anyway, backing up a little, yeah, I wouldn't be here if that were the case. But backing up a little bit, I'm from Long Island, New York, Oyster Bay in particular. I came here to ski in '72 with two of my guy friends, and we had a great time. Went back home, learned I was getting divorced, taught, taught school for another
Oh,
half year,
been there, done
another
that. Yeah.
taught school for another half year, and said, "What the hell am I doing here?" I love the kids, but the program they had in the school was it was very individualized to the extent where kids weren't interacting properly, and I really didn't like that. So, but unfortunately, I had a really good substitute who loved the kids, got along well with it. So I left over a Christmas vacation to come out here and moved out here with pretty much just, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000 altogether.
Were the kids any different here?
Not the kids are the kids. Kids are kids. I don't
Yeah.
care where you go. They are. I've seen them in different countries and different states, and talked to teachers all over the place. And we're the same species. Okay,
Yeah.
it seems like we may not be many times. You
Right.
know,
So you were an educator. What topic did you teach? Were you
Well, I started out in biology. I remember in ninth grade thinking, what would be the most important thing to study, to go into for a career? And I thought, well, life on Earth seems pretty important. That
yeah.
means biology. So I really got into biology. I had a good biology teacher in ninth grade. And then we had, surprisingly enough, at the Catholic school, and of course in evolution with a lay teacher had just come in, and he didn't know what to do, but he was a good guy, and so he had us all do projects. So it made the course interesting because everybody had their own project, spent a lot of time on it, and I learned a lot there. And I
I
was always,
loved evolution in
yeah,
school.
yeah, it fascinated me, and then in science in general, I did a lot, physics, math. I did had a really good math teacher. So, in high school, I had some very good teachers. I had a number. When I look back objectively,
Mhm.
I had some very good teachers. There were some that were just screwed up ladies that, you know, for whatever reason, who knows? But
I actually had some very good teachers too, but I grew up in the Park City school
yeah,
system,
yeah,
which were probably a little bit more liberal or
yeah,
open-minded, I
yes,
guess.
sure,
Um,
educated, whatever. Yeah,
yeah, they were actually really, really good, and I learned about the web of life in third
yeah,
grade
right.
and
Yeah.
and how every species depends on every other species
Oh
and
yeah. When I was a Boy Scout, I was an Eagle Scout once upon a time. Well, I guess I still am. But the,
well, you don't lose that title.
yeah,
Do
right.
they
I was,
take that away from you like excommunication or something?
did you read about the Mormon Scout, the autistic kid who had completed all his requirements to become a Mormon Scout, and they wouldn't let him. And then like I wrote
Because he was autistic? Or
basically, so that's how it came across. You know, you never know all the reasons, but that's how it came across. And I wrote a letter to the Select Tribune. Well, no, I think I posted on my Facebook, which I used to have, and I made a pretty big deal of it. And I said, Scout is trustworthy, loyal, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverend. Still remember that, you know. I said, so I guess the Scouts are going to have to change their motto, you know. And it was within less than a month after that, the Mormons who had been supporting Scouts for almost since they got here, like I'm talking 100 years, dropped the Scouts, which was a shocker.
yes, wasn't that
And,
so
and,
weird?
and I really think it had to do with this
Well, not
kid.
only that, but don't you think it had something to do with them kind of having to be more inclusive with the LGBT community? Like,
It could have well been that. I know there was a lot of the fear of homosexuals, all of them, of course, being pedophiles, which is insane. But
well, yeah, that's ridiculous, especially since the so-called straight Mormons were the ones
yeah,
committing all
right,
the crimes, and then the church was hiding it.
yeah,
I
oh
could go
yeah,
on
oh, yeah,
rants all day about
yeah,
that,
yeah.
so
Me
let's
too.
not get down that rabbit hole.
Right. Okay. So can I get back on the energy?
Okay,
Uh, so I moved out here and adjusted to the culture gradually. And it will never
good for
completely.
you. I had all
Yeah,
my life to adjust to it, and I still
yeah,
am
yeah.
not there.
It's a strange situation. You try to explain it to people, it's just about impossible.
You
It
can't. You
takes,
can't.
yeah,
Newcomers like, oh, people are so nice, but they don't see how
yeah,
fake
right.
that niceness is. Like, it's
Yeah.
so
Well,
fake.
I've often said they've taken the worst of capitalism and the worst of religion, rolled it into one.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said they have a monopoly on misery. So,
They,
and what we have the largest population of ladies on Prozac, I think.
yes, we have a
Yeah,
huge problem with
if not the yeah,
prescription drugs,
yeah,
overdosing,
it's,
and all that huge, because that's acceptable with the Mormon church,
yeah,
where marijuana, which is much safer, is
yeah, of course.
not
Yeah,
acceptable.
yeah,
So that's what they do. When I met my current husband, back in the day, he was married to this gal who is the mother of my stepchildren now,
yes.
and she was crazy, like totally addicted to those things. And he was too. He was like, "Oh yeah, I love these prescription drugs. Just give me some." But
I,
that was acceptable, totally acceptable. And
I
and
tried many over the years, and it was like pouring sand into my brain. And I go for maybe a week.
well,
And
they need to be dulled because they have such high expectations in
yeah,
their church and their community that it it's I don't know how
there's
to
so much.
explain it. It's like
There's,
they have
there's
to be better than everybody else.
there's so much hypocrisy going on. Is
Yeah.
it's That's phenomenal. But anyway, they keep the place clean, and now they're putting sky rises up here. But so anyway, trying to get back and stay on track a little bit.
Yes, I'm sorry. I get off on
It's
tangents.
okay. You said it'd be organic. It is. And we can meet again. I mean, I think you probably live about 45 minutes away, honestly. So
Oh, probably less than that if you're close to the airport.
yeah, I could well be. So anyway, I my former mother-in-law sent me this book called Energy for Survival, something by Wilson Clark. Was a brilliant, brilliant guy out of, I think, Gainesville, Florida. and he had many researches, and it was a tome of a book, but easy to read. Tons of footnotes if you wanted to go there. Had a lot of helpers working at it and this and that, giving feedback. And subtitle, as I said, was before we got on here, was The Alternative to Extinction. Energy for Survival, subtitle, The Alternative to Extinction. And he pointed out how we are addicted to petroleum, and that everything, I mean, you look, I mean, I'm just looking around your house right now. Everything there is petroleum touched in some way, if not
Oh
directly made
yeah,
of
it
it.
has
So,
to be because just
yeah,
for the, and this is one thing I bring up a lot, you probably know in my channel is transport of products.
yeah,
Um, everything in this space that you see is something I've had since I was a child or has been given to me. Like
yeah,
I don't buy stuff.
yeah.
It's like,
It's commendable.
yeah, it's I hate buying stuff. I hate going to the store. But
Yeah,
transport, living locally is so important to me. Okay, that's my
yeah,
interruption. You can go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no, hey, no, that's just not an interruption. Um, anyway, that convinced me that we had to get off of petroleum. And Wilson Clark, by the way, died in '77
Mhm.
uh, or '8, and I've tried to look into that car accident. I truly believe it was a CIA thing, stand up for
You
fossil
never
fuels.
know. There's so many
'Cause
crazy things that
I
happen.
mean, I've watched too much and read too much about the CIA. It's like
Me
they,
too.
they run the country. It's
That's the
insane.
deep state, the
And,
CIA, the
and,
FBI, and the elite.
and they come right out of here, right out of Utah. From
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they in large measure.
I have personal experience with that, by the way. If
Yeah,
you want to hear about that later, I'll tell you.
yeah. A lady I worked with had a sister who was high up there, and I said, so I'm hearing these figures on the percentage of Mormons that get this percentage of CIA that is Mormon, and it was like 80%,
Yeah.
and it may be less now. I don't
They're
know.
very highly connected, and they're
Yeah,
also really connected with the Masonic.
they're obedient.
Hmm.
They take orders. They don't question. They're trained not to question, and they speak many languages, or they're multicultural
Yeah,
because they go as what do you call it,
multilingual,
missionaries here and
all
there
the
and everything.
missionaries. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then we got the NSA like 20
Yeah.
minutes away from here,
And
literally.
Homeland Security. Don't
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
about that. I have personal
Yeah.
experience with Homeland Security.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all do to some degree, but
Yeah, we do. We may not know it.
yeah, right, exactly. They're listening. I'm sure they're listening to us right now. I have no doubt that they may not be listening, but they're recording it. If they want to pull it up, they
Mm.
can.
I just know
That's a
from personal last experience that the
yeah,
HSA is there and they can
yeah.
intervene whenever they want and sometimes even in personal issues that they
I
have
got
sensitive.
fired from this 10-year teaching job. I taught there for 8 years in Shelley, Idaho.
Mm.
Perfect teaching record. It was the IEA, Idaho Education Association, Shelley Education Association rep. And I was the president for a while. I did the newsletter. I represented the building for 7 of those 8 years. Teachers really loved me. I did a lot of science in my classes. Kids ate it up. And I like math. I like reading. So I like that broad spectrum. And one reason I didn't stick with scientists because at the time it looked like you had to really get siloed. You still do to a large extent, into a certain area, and I didn't want to do that. So that's how I ended up in teaching. But so anyway, I got this perfect teaching record, and in comes this guy Val Edrington. I don't know if you remember him. There was a shootout in Heber. John Singer was the guy's name. Jerry
Oh God, yes, I know about that.
Jerry
My
Spence.
brother was really closely involved with the singers when that
Well,
happened.
really,
Hmm.
really, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we lived
so
up in Park, Summit
yeah, right.
County
You're right
area,
nearby.
and
Yeah,
my
yeah.
brother was in a
Just,
foster home
yeah.
at that time and was friends with the singers.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you're stone's throw away. So Jerry Spence filed a $110 million lawsuit against the
I
state of
love Jerry
Utah over that.
Spence.
Yeah, I know.
Such a
So
good
I
singer.
tried to get what, and then I was on the committee that hired. We did all kinds of searching for the new superintendent. I helped the first one get fired, by the way, which is another story in itself. But this guy, Scott Edrington was his name. He was even worse. And we had done this thing. We had some teachers on the committee had sent letters all around the United States. They interviewed people, and I was in a couple of interviews. And we got the best guy. He was best of the worst, you might say, guy that was from Aberdeen. And we come back in the fall, There's no John, no Murdoch was in John Murdoch, and we got this Scott Edrington. And I said, "What the hell is this?" And everybody else says, "What the hell is this?" But no, everybody's teaching. You don't have time to pursue it. So it turns out he was the guy behind the killing of John Singer, who
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
quote following his lesson plans correctly. He had to be at the exact place, the exact time, and all that shit.
Wow.
And
You
this is
know,
a whole story in itself. I could put some links up for you.
yeah,
On
I'd like to
YouTube.
see because I was fairly young. I was probably 18 years old when that
Yeah.
happened,
Okay.
maybe
So
17. And
yeah,
I actually remember where I used to work. I used to work at
yeah,
Shadow Ridge
mm,
condominiums
yeah,
in housekeeping
hmm,
way back then. And I remember that being the conversation because I worked with gals that lived in that area when they were having that um it was how they had the house like what do they call that? It's like the house was all surrounded and all that stuff.
yeah,
Um, that confrontation out
yeah,
there
yes.
is it
He
was
went
a
out to
big
he,
theme.
he went out to get the mail, and I think they told him to stop or something. There's a book called The Death of American,
I
which got
really
yeah,
want to know the backstory because of course I've only
it,
heard the
it got
official story, you
yeah
know?
the book covered it really really well, and I read that after I got fired by the same freaking guy.
Oh wow. I should
Yeah,
actually ask my brother about it, but he kept disappearing
and
after that. He was traumatized.
and I think
Seriously.
I believe it. So I think the ultimate thing was that they try to push me to do your lesson plans this way and that way. I've been doing them for 8 years perfectly, doing exactly what we're supposed to do, as any good teacher does. You sit down every day, evaluate the day, figure out how you're going to proceed the next day based on what happened that day. And they even, oh God, it's so easy to carry away. Um,
I know it is, right?
long story short, I got fired with a perfect teaching record. I spent 7 years in court. I had a suspended and then disbarred lawyer who was
And you
just
got
doing too
wait,
good a
got
job
fired for that?
for nothing. Well, here's one of the complaints was black top smudges on PE balls.
What?
Black top smudges on
Okay,
PE
let
balls.
me guess. Did they also get you for the black smudges from tennis shoes on gym courts? Because that was a thing when I
No,
was in school.
no, they didn't do that. But the ironic part there was that I went down to do PE with my kids on my allotted time. It was like a Thursday or something. And the music teachers, I liked all the ladies I worked with. They were like, I think there's one other guy there out of 32 people or something. And Lori, her name is Lori, is there teaching music. She was pressed. It was near Christmas, and she's trying to get a play together. And she said, uh, "I'm sorry, I didn't know this was your time." I said, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll just go outside. It was not too cold a day." So we took the P balls. We didn't even go on the blacktop. Okay, we were on the grass playing soccer, and I got written up for getting blacktop smudges on PE balls. And I had to
That's the
respond.
stupidest reason ever to get ridden up. It's like,
that,
okay, I have a little, cleaner. I can get rid of
that,
that.
that was one
No
example.
problem.
That was one example of about at least 30 that I had to sit down and respond to, spend an hour or two writing up what the hell happened. So, but
Wow.
what this is what led into it is that I found I tried to record the superintendent a couple times on the phone because they tell me one thing one day, another thing another day, or the week, and so I was trying to get them pinned down. I was trying to record the principal. We had a thing set up on my sock to record them, and anyway, the I kept getting when I was talking to the superintendent at the superintendent office, but I would I could hear it perfectly clearly. My tape recorder wouldn't pick it up. It was whited out. I did some homework, found out that is a device you can get that creates a white noise so nobody can record it.
Oh yeah, the
So
DNC is really good at doing that when
yeah, so going a little
they
going
don't
a little
hear it.
further, I had one of my parents or one of my kids work for the FBI. And I like the guy. I like all my parents and kids. I mean, there's really nobody I didn't get along with that I can recall. And he told me that he'd been hobnobbing with the superintendent. Turned out the superintendent's kid was on the black team of the CIA. And I put that in a letter to the editor that never got published, but wound up in the hands of the district lawyer. And I think that was what set them off big time. But the official statement was uh, I was supposed to get along with the principal, which is in effect meant get on your hands and knees and bark like a dog when he says to. Okay. So that didn't sit well with me,
Wow.
you know. And anyway, it was a Star Chamber meeting, illegal. Wasn't recorded. Neither was my termination hearing. So anyway, that was just the whole crazy. But then years later, come 2005, I had heart problems, and they're not sure why. I think it was a virus, sarcoidosis virus, for anyone who's a nurse out there or something. But it's a kind of mysterious thing. They from latest I've read, they still don't know too much about it, but made my heart swell up. I wound up getting a pacemaker that worked well for a couple of years. That stopped working. So I had a heart transplant at the LDS hospital. I was in the LDS hospital, and I had a
Oh,
really good team, really good doctors. They treated me really well. It was almost like, honestly, it was if we know you got screwed by these clowns up there in Idaho, we're going to do everything we can to fix you. I had good insurance. I was doubly insured.
yeah, that helps for sure.
That helped. Plus, I was in really good shape. I worked out all my life, basically rollerblading, skiing, whatever. So,
That always helps.
um, so I got this love hate relationship. There's some really good Mormons and some really
I
bad.
agree. Some of
Uh,
my best friends
yeah,
are Mormons.
yeah, yeah.
But
I,
even
get-
my
I get,
best friend Mormons, I see like little things that like, no, don't do that. It's like, where
yeah,
they're just so self-centered and they're so worried about being perfect all the
yeah,
time. It's like that thing, they have to be perfect to get salvation. And
yeah,
it's such a superficial perfectness. It's not like a good
yeah,
person
yeah.
perfectness.
So
And
many are, but I mean, I'll say that without hesitation. But so many are not. And
yeah, and those are the ones when I speak badly of LDS
yeah,
people, it's only the ones
the power
that
trippers.
the power trippers, the
Yeah,
ones that talk badly about
yeah,
the poor or the underserved
yeah,
populations, the ones that don't give a crap about the environment, the ones that only care about having the bigger house. Those ones are the ones I'm talking about. I'm not talking about um, the good ones because I know there's a lot of good people in every
yeah,
single
yeah.
genre of life. There
It's a
always is.
it's a bell curve. You got
Yes.
it's
I'm sure there's
every
plenty of atheists that people
oh
hate or um, spiritual people that have flaws. I have my own flaws. I have a lot
yeah,
of
who doesn't?
flaws.
We're humans. Every
Yeah.
human beings.
I have so many vices. I just
Yeah.
I'm
We we
definitely
we
not a perfect person, but I don't claim to be either. So,
we
you
we
know,
we evolved out of the wilderness. We're formed by the forces that created us, and
I
we
would
had to
like to
survive to get
devolve.
by. Huh?
Let's devolve a little bit.
I'm sorry, I missed the key word.
Devolve. We need to devolve. Like
Oh,
go back into the wilderness, start
oh
being
yeah.
more
Oh,
natural
devolve.
beings.
Yes, yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I agree.
Which brings me into
I
how did you become into this crazy or get into this crazy doomosphere stuff,
well,
you know?
that getting I started becoming aware of our dependence on energy back in 75 or 6 when I read that book, Energy for Survival. And then I was very interested in solar early on when I saw that was what we had to do to get off of petroleum.
Which
Uh,
they should have done back then. Now it's going to
yeah,
make
exactly,
things
exactly.
worse.
And Wilson Clark made a very big deal about the lead time we're going to need to use the petroleum to create the solar panels, the wind turbines, or whatever we're going to have. And now we're too far gone for that.
Yeah,
So
at this point, what do you think we should do? Because in my opinion, I think we should just stop. I mean, if I had control of the world, which I
yeah,
do
mhm,
not, by
yeah,
the
right,
way,
yeah, right,
I would say do not take any more out of the ground, do not take any more from nature, utilize what we've already um,
yeah,
taken to
mhm,
do as much as we can to produce renewables.
yeah,
And just stop taking from nature. And of course, there's the dimming effect and all that stuff that you have to
yeah,
worry
right.
about too. So if you're gradually, maybe the dimming effect won't be so drastic if it's gradual. You know what I mean?
I yeah,
I don't
that's one.
know.
You might
I'm
have.
not a scientist.
I pressed Guy McPherson on that point quite a bit, and I cut and one thing I don't quite agree with him on. I mean, I basically agree with him. We are at the end of the rope. There's not any more rope.
Yeah, I
There's
don't know about the timeline,
no
and
more.
I don't want to make any guesses on the timeline.
Yeah. Well, I don't think. I'll just say I don't think it's very long.
I don't think it's very long either. I think it's everything is happening now. It's happening faster than predicted.
And
Not Guy McPherson's predictions, but
yeah,
faster than all the other scientists'
it could be
predictions.
it could be faster than this from what I see. But,
Well, yeah,
I
we
mean,
still have what 6 more years, so
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. Well, then you
could
got
be.
everyone waving nuclear weapons at one another, and
Yeah,
no, no,
yeah,
no,
it could be
no.
faster if you could consider that, which is really
Yeah,
scary. And it's hard when you talk to millennials too.
yeah. And
Yeah,
you got just with climate change, you got invasive species of harmful species, virus,
the
Zika
worst being
virus.
humans, like the very
Yeah, that.
worst invasive
Yeah.
species is
The
humans.
first thing I would do is, if I were in charge of the world, which I am not either, would be
Yeah, well,
to,
that's all I talk about is if I were in charge of the world, this is what
yeah,
I'd do because we
I,
have no control.
I would start by offering $10,000 to anyone who wants to get a vasectomy.
There you go.
You
Yeah,
know,
I've talked about that. Like, pay people to get sterilized, pay them
exactly.
to not
Yeah,
have children. Don't give them tax breaks for having children. That's something
right.
Utah loves to do.
Yeah,
Here, more
they
tax
got it.
breaks, have more babies. Hurry, hurry, have more babies.
They've got it in reverse
No.
order. Should be progressive tax. As
Yes.
they went to that in China after the one, apparently the
The
one
one
child
child thing. I think
didn't
the other
it
would
didn't
work
work,
better. I
but then
think
they
paying for it and giving a
yeah,
tax break, like paying for the
yeah.
sterilization, not telling people like they told me that I could not get fixed until I had
I
three kids.
heard
That's
you talking about that.
ridiculous. But men could get a vasectomy at any age,
Yeah,
no matter how many kids they had. I mean, that's how patriarchal the
yeah,
society is here. It's so ridiculous
yeah.
and so wrong.
Which is very symbolic of how the world is run. Very patriarchal.
Yes, yes.
And
They're
it's
just really an extreme
a
example.
major problem, totally.
Mm.
But so anyway, I don't see hope for us as a species. I still think we should look at ways. I like Paul Beckwith a lot.
I love Paul Beckwith.
And
How
yeah,
could you not? And I love Dirk Jensen because
yeah, he's great.
he's like
And I,
fight with all you can. Don't just give up and throw your hands in the
I saw
air. It's
I saw a
like
video or two that you did with him. I particularly like
I've
one
done
where
4 with him, and
I saw two
those are
where
my
the
favorite.
bear was at the door. That
Yeah,
was great.
those were fabulous,
Yeah,
fabulous.
yeah. So
So
I've
excited about.
listened to him a lot. He's done a lot of articles in for Orion Nature Quarterly. I don't know
Oh,
if you've
really?
seen
I
it.
haven't. I mostly listen to things, so I do a lot of
Yeah,
listening to um Green Resistance
yeah,
radio.
right.
I don't know.
Sure.
He's on 2 different channels. He does his own, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
He's got several books, infinite articles, and but
Yes,
Orion
Endgame
Nature.
is fabulous, and that's definitely a must.
Which one is that?
Endgame,
Oh
Endgame,
yeah,
and
Endgame.
and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the myth of human supremacy.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
are
No,
musts.
just from the titles,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So much of this stuff I've seen in different forms that I can read just a little bit and get the idea. A lot of
Yeah, I mean
I've
it's a
got
lot of repetitive information. So
yeah,
once you hear so much of it, you're kind of like, okay, I want something new. I
yes.
want something new. But at the same time, there's so much new information coming out that it's hard to retain
You you
everything that's happening.
you
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 know?
wa- and if you do that, you poison yourself. I mean, you get so depressed
Oh
and
yeah.
into despair.
Been there,
You
done
know,
that several
I've been,
times over.
I've, yeah, I've been through the stages of grief over the planet and the species. I hear 25 years working with kids to try to improve the human race, building a solar greenhouse, living off grid for 15 years, building solar airships, on and on it went. Going to infinite hearings, pushing for cusinage, Jill Stein. I ran against Hatch in 2012. I'm sure you didn't. I doubt you heard about that because I
So
got.
wait, what about Hatch? Are you
I
talking about
I
Senator Hatch?
I ran on the
You
Justice.
ran against Senator Hatch and I didn't know about it. He's in my district, or he was before he left,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now we have freaking Mitt Romney.
I know, and I was going to run against him. I had my name on the ballot as an independent because you don't have to get supporters and all that. Before I was with under Rocky Anderson on the Justice Party in
I think I
2012.
voted for Rocky Anderson
Yeah, yeah. I became friends with him. You know, we had him over for dinner. But
for the general election, like for president.
yeah,
Wait,
yeah, yeah. He was running for president on the Justice Party, and then
yes.
he got kind of screwed there.
I
You know,
love Rocky Anderson. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I do. I
he's a
know
nice guy.
he's not very popular here, but he is.
Well, he's either loved or hated. I think.
I think so. What
Yeah.
about Huntsman? Okay, as long as we're in politics,
I,
Huntsman announced running. What do you think?
I I think he's relatively decent. From what I know.
Well, he's pissed off a lot of the Mormons because he stood up for
Yeah,
gays. So,
yeah,
oh
right.
no.
Yeah.
I don't know
No,
how he is on the environment, but his platform's going to be growth, and I'm like,
yeah.
but then what do
No,
you
I did.
do? Do you, and this is a lesser of the two evils thing, which I
Well,
hate, but it's a
right.
matter of how much of a difference. Okay, if you're talking about someone
Well,
like
you know,
Herbert and then Huntsman, that's a
yeah,
huge difference. Whereas you're talking
right.
about Trump or Clinton, not
Yeah.
so much of a difference to
Right,
me.
yeah, I hate Hillary. I mean, she's like despicable woman.
Do you think she would have been any better on the environment than Trump? Just because,
Uh,
just seeing what she did as
well,
Secretary of State, she did
not
so much damage in selling fracking to the world, just
well. How you know
promoting wars all over the planet.
exactly taking over Libya, which was the most democratic country in Africa, and
Yeah,
then cheering on the public killing of Gaddafi,
yeah,
and the torturing of him in public. I mean, she's a sick
yeah,
woman, and
yeah.
so is Bill.
We
But
came, we saw, he
yeah,
died.
yeah, yeah, right.
Ha ha ha. It's like, oh my God, what a sick woman.
And
I'm sorry, I don't think, I know it's a very unpopular opinion, but I don't think she would be that much better, maybe incrementally better than Trump. But okay, look what
well,
happened. We had Bush, who is bad. We had Reagan, Bush,
yeah,
Clinton, whatever. Then you go up to Obama, who we thought was going to be this great savior. He talked all the talk and everything.
I got over
And
that.
it just got worse and worse and worse with every person we elected because we're always electing the lesser of two evils
I
and we
know.
let them get away with bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
So no, we need the people in charge,
Well,
not these elected officials.
I'm pushing for Tulsi. I got two bumper stickers on my car. One is Tulsi 2020, and the other is No
I
War.
don't think they'll let her win the primary, but I I
I know
I
she's
I
it's an
like
uphill
the way
battle,
she
but
stands up to the Democratic Party
I loved how she
and the
kicked
media. She's
Hillary's ass. It was great.
I
She
know there's people that think she's a plant. Like I love Deb Della Piana, but she thinks she's a plant um
mm,
meant to I
you
don't
had
know. I will find out after the primary to see if she actually, but she did actually back Bernie and left the DNC to back Bernie. So that's what gives me hope. And she is
well.
standing up. So I have more respect for her than I do Bernie Sanders,
Oh
just
yeah, I know.
because she did stand up against
In the
the the whole
extremely unlikely
stuff.
chance I beat Hatch, my only tangible plan. I mean, I got many principles, but my website's still up there, hacked and whatever. But the basic principle: voteutah.us. If
Mhm.
anyone wants to check it out. But
Oh, cool.
my first real plan was to befriend Bernie and learn the ropes. And I gave him a lot of money. First campaign, did a lot of shouting out.
So did I. And then I felt cheated when he didn't
And
stand up for me and my vote
when
with all
he
the
did
cheating.
when he did the about face and handed over to
Supported,
Hillary,
yeah. When he
he,
supported Hillary, that was like, oh fuck,
that
really?
was 100 degrees the wrong way.
He
Everything.
told everybody a long time ago, if I ever tell you who to vote for, oh my God, I'm frozen. Not cool.
There on my screen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got frozen. That really sucks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the worst that happens. We're okay.
I was
So
in the middle of a rant
yeah,
about Bernie saying that if he ever
yeah.
tells you who to vote for, don't vote for him because and he and his spiels about running third party and he always ran third party and
Well,
he changed. He changed.
he supported RussiaGate. He didn't speak out very loud about
Yes,
Venezuela.
Russiagate,
He had the F-35s built in Burlington. He did.
Israel, the Palestinians. He didn't speak up for them.
Yeah. He did. I'm not too. I like the guy
Venezuela, he didn't speak out
yeah.
for that.
I got a brother who lives in Rutland, Vermont, and uh, right across the valley where he lives in, he's a Vermont still life photographer, does really good work there. He's met Bernie 3, 4 times, talked to him personally, and those windmills they were going to put on the ridge tops. They're going to clean the ridge top, several ridge tops of the ancient green mountains, much older than these mountains here. That's why they're so
Mhm.
worn down and smooth. Um, they were going to. My brother did a lot of homework on the windmills, and first of all, they weren't necessary because they get hydropower already. The money was going to go out of state to other companies, other states, other countries, even.
There's
Uh,
always fine print that they don't tell you,
yeah, yeah, and then there
especially
are
with
certain.
the greenwash shit. That's like,
Yeah, I know. It's like the simplest thing. The best analogy that I came across was from Amory Lovins, who worked for Friends of the Earth way back when, and it was called Natural Capitalism, one of his many books, and he had the analogy in there. It's like we are trying to fill a bathtub with hot water, never-ending hot water, and for a small fraction of the cost, we just need to fix the plug so it doesn't leak. In other words, efficiency,
I like
efficiency.
that. Oh, one more thing. Okay, fellow
Yeah,
Utahn, I have to ask you about this
yeah.
because this really bugged me. Governor Herbert was on TV talking about how um, Utah spends more money on public lands than any other state, and it, in the context of we care more about our natural lands than anybody, so we care for like Bears Ears area that they just
Right.
you know took off of the protection and all that, that kind of thing. So when he says that, is it just me or are you thinking, yeah, you spend for one, we have more natural lands than almost any other state. 75% of our pretty big state is natural lands. And then two, most of the money spent on those natural lands is spent building new roads and everything in there for fossil fuel um,
Or fracking.
extraction
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
mineral
Yeah,
extractions in general.
yeah
I mean, is that what you were did you hear that and is that what you were thinking?
I didn't. I would. I think Utah politicians overall are full of shit. There may be
Oh,
one or two exceptions, but I
I
gave up.
haven't found one exception yet
I had to.
myself.
I gave up on them a long
Not
time
even a
ago.
Democrat one. There isn't even
Yeah,
a Democrat one that I can like say, "Oh, that's a great person."
but when I was giving a talk back in 2012, and I gave a talk locally here, and at the West Point area, and Luz Escamala, I think I'm saying it right, was there, and she'd given a talk, and as I get up to talk, she gets up and walks out the door, and all I see is her big fat rear end aiming at me, and it's like that's her view of democracy. So
Nice.
it's like I
Nice.
just
Yeah, every time Utahns try to have a town hall,
yeah
they're like, "Oh, we can't do this. There's too many people yelling at us. We have to do this by phone, and then we could cut you off."
yeah I went
And they did that. So you had to do pre-recorded questions. So if you wanted, like Hatch did this with
I
his
went to
town halls, and he would
yeah
never answer my questions
I,
ever.
I never got to see his face. I went to a couple of them, and one of them it was a great big one down in Sandy, south of the valley here for those who don't know, and they had posted up Orrin Hatch MIA missing in action. He didn't show up, and it was like
Oh no, he'll only
I,
do them by phone because then he
I
doesn't have to face and he has
and
phone screeners.
and then there was one at his office. It was a really cold, wintry day, and they wouldn't let us come in. We had to go in groups, and he wasn't there. He had like 6 or 7 representatives that people could go in and talk to them for 20 minutes or some fixed Mickey
That
Mouse.
yeah, that
You
makes
know,
absolute
it's
sense
just,
and
I had when I went to I couldn't even get a letter when I was running against Hatch in
oh, we're freezing. Freezing again. Uh,
even in and
okay, hold on. We
I
froze and I'm afraid that we're
yeah
going to have to end this really soon because
okay
Um, I only have so much memory on my computer to save it for one.
Sure.
And for
Okay.
two,
Well,
I think
but
our stream is being interrupted. Maybe we're talking too much truth. Who knows? Um, so what I want you to do is give your I don't know, if you were able to talk to just anybody, just what do you want to say? How do you want to? I want to have you on again, though. By the way.
yeah. Okay. That's fine. Um, First of all, I don't have anything that will encourage people, which disappoints me. I've been an optimist all my life, I mean, working hard at it, but now I don't see it. So I'm trying to find ways to run my own life to, get more, be here now, like in a more
Yeah,
serious
make the
way.
most of the
And,
experiences you have now, and
and
that doesn't mean consuming the shit out of everything, by the way.
yeah, and realizing our place on the earth that people say we were put on earth. Well, we grew out of the earth, I mean, we are at least one form of consciousness of the universe looking in on itself. Try to see that. I'm very conscious of the spinning of the earth. I was out watching clouds just before I got on here. Um,
They're
you know,
pretty nice.
yeah, I'm very aware of how we got here, and that is it's so ironic that we are here to witness this extinction event. And how do you deal with that? There's no real way to deal with it.
No,
That
it's hard. It's
you got to
tough.
just that you're working with horses and other animals. That's great. That you can't do much better.
That makes me happy.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
does. I got to
yeah.
teach a group of young vet students, veterinary tech students, this week, and
Again,
and that
good for
was a
you.
joy. It was a
That's good.
joy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was an educator this week, 2 days in a row. I was an
All right.
educator this week, so
Yeah,
that was interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I really miss working with kids. I volunteered a couple of years ago. One of the schools nearby had my old principal was there, who I really get along with, and I did science for fifth graders once a week. And I
Science was my
really,
favorite class other than art, by the way.
yeah, okay, yeah. I was, I can do stick figures like my third graders were far better than I was. But
Well,
yeah,
creativity and intelligence are really closely related.
yes, yes, yeah, agreed,
The
agreed.
the ability to recognize patterns is how they
Ah, yeah,
judge intelligence, right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah, we
we,
got
we
to get out of here because we are
yeah,
running. It's going to take this video forever to upload, so I
okay.
really appreciate you, and I really would love to have you on anytime on Mondays,
Yeah, we can
regular.
specify topics a little more, and be a little
Yeah,
more
we will. This
less,
is just an introduction to Daniel Geary.
little less organic if you want. So
Yes,
we'll
I
let,
forgot to thank, I don't know if this person's going to be listening, but Chris Jansen supported me on PayPal, and I just want to give a big thank you.
all
And
right.
and yeah, there's
Yeah,
PayPal that you can, it's on
yeah.
my about page. You can find it there. Thank you so much for that donation. Really, I appreciate every little bit, every tiny little amount because it
I'd be,
helps
I'd
me
be,
get my
I'd be,
equipment.
I would be donating, except I'm already donating to several others already.
I know, and I appreciate the people you're donating
Yeah,
to. I
yeah.
think we're donating to the same people,
Probably so.
and I actually receive less than I'm getting. So anyway,
Oh,
I'm going to hurry up. Thank you guys. You can
okay.
stay, Daniel, but let me just hurry and transition this over to the ending soon. Oh my gosh, where's my cursor? Okay, and transition.